would win between Queen Maeve and Stormfront. Many have gone back and forth on who was the Seven's strongest heroine, with Stormfront being one of the heavy hitters of Season 2 and Maeve getting her climactic battle with Homelander in Season 3. However, I am here to say this fight is not close at all, and there has always been a very clear winner. I know I might be coming off strong with that intro, but sit back, hear me out, and maybe you'll hear what I'm talking about. Let's start by scaling Stormfront. The first superhero was depicted as one of the most threatening opponents for our main characters during her time in Season 2. In Kimiko's character bio, Stormfront is described as Kimiko's deadliest opponent so far, putting her above other powerful heroes such as Black Noir and A-Train. This is supported by feats, with Stormfront outright defeating Kimiko and Starlight at the same time, and requiring the assistance of Queen Maeve to help them out. Starlight's light beams managed to tag Black Noir and send him flying, and Kimiko was capable of slicing Black Noir and breaking A-Train's leg with a single strike. Stormfront's ability to overwhelm both of them at the same time, including snapping Kimiko's neck, would help support her superiority to the aforementioned heroes. Her plasma blasts are capable of shocking and telekinetically manipulating her opponents, with her using it to get the upper hand on Kimiko several times in their fight. She could also send Starlight flying, someone capable of taking blows from Black Noir. Even when getting overwhelmed by Starlight, Kimiko, and Maeve, Stormfront was capable of landing an elbow on the premier female hero and flying herself to safety. Stormfront does have an interesting debate in regards to her durability, but generally speaking, that's all there is to say about her raw power level. She is a fairly powerful 7 member, surpassing the likes of A-Train, Black Noir, Starlight, and Kimiko. However, how does she stack up to the 7's former number 2, Queen Maeve? Maeve, even in the earlier seasons, is rather powerful. According to the spin-off series Gen V, Maeve was God U's strongest alumni. This would include the Deep, someone capable of physically dominating Starlight, and A-Train, who defeated both Kimiko and Starlight. In a deleted scene from Season 1, Homelander calls Maeve the strongest being on Earth alongside himself.
After that, it was you and me against the world. The 2 most powerful people on the planet, united.
These statements put Maeve among the top heroes at the time, a similar tier to Stormfront. However, after Season 2, Maeve begins training in preparation for her final battle with Homelander, greatly increasing her strength and fighting ability. The fruits of her training are put on full display as Maeve does battle with her former partner. While Homelander was clearly stronger at full power, Maeve could damage, tank, and block Homelander's assault with minimal damage. She even fights for a period with one eye, yet keeps swinging until her last act in stopping Soldier Boy. Eric Kripke would go as far as to say, if the battle had continued, Maeve had a chance to beat Homelander. And while that chance may have been incredibly small, having a chance to beat someone as powerful as Homelander is still a high accolade. Maeve's power is further extrapolated on in Gen V, as she is compared to Sam and the other students. It's stated that if Sam is even close to the power of Maeve, who held her own against Homelander, the rest of the students are in trouble. This is high praise as this includes Andre and Jordan, both characters swapping hands with Sam, and Sam was strong enough to demolish Kimiko at the end of Season 4, taking punches to the face with absolutely no damage. Jordan and Andre would apparently be in danger if they had to fight someone close to the power of Maeve, so it's likely that the real Maeve at full power would annihilate them. With all the information detailed, I think it's painfully clear that Queen Maeve in her Season 3 prime dwarfs the power of Stormfront. Not only does Maeve just fight Homelander and do pretty good, but she is directly compared to characters who are stronger than Stormfront physically. Sam could ragdoll Kimiko, barely flinching in response to her punches. Compare that to Stormfront getting knocked on the ground and coughing blood to all of Kimiko's attacks. This blatantly means that Sam is physically more powerful and durable than Stormfront is, and Andre and Jordan can take attacks from him and launch him with their punches. The same Jordan and Andre that would be in trouble against opponents weaker than Maeve. So Maeve is above Jordan, Jordan is above Kimiko, and Kimiko can damage Stormfront. Many people will turn to Maeve's actual fight with Stormfront, claiming that Maeve needed help from Starlight and Kimiko to defeat her. For starters, they didn't defeat Stormfront, they trounced her. Stormfront did manage to get a hit or two in after they jumped her, but she was still being dominated and her only recourse was to fly away. If you saw Jon Jones and Mike Tyson pummeling some guy into the pavement, would you assume that they needed to work together to beat him? When Maeve was beating up the criminal in Season 1, did Homelander finish him off because it was needed? Would Maeve have gotten cooked if Homelander didn't help her? Maeve already had the upper hand over Stormfront when it came to hand-to-hand. She scored several blows and blocked Stormfront's swing before knocking her onto the ground. The only time she even gets tagged by an elbow is when she's making an effort to lift Stormfront off the floor and not attacking her. However, this feat still doesn't compare to Prime Maeve to begin with. Maeve didn't even start her training until after Season 2 concluded, meaning this is not the peak of her strength. During Season 2, Maeve is actually described as a shell of her former self, depressed and succumbing to alcoholism to cope with the state of her life. She was willing to let Homelander have his way with the world, and she had given up on fighting until Starlight's optimism had reached her. Maeve in Season 2 might actually be weaker than she was in Season 1, or possibly even when she graduated from Godolphin University, yet she was still completely outboxed Stormfront in hand-to-hand. So imagine how Prime boxing with Homelander Maeve would do Stormfront. Now, I need to address the sadly common misconception, that being the idea that Stormfront is a top tier by today's standards, close to the level of Soldier Boy or Homelander. This belief seems to stem from her tanking Homelander's heat vision. For some reason, people seem to think Homelander would have used the utmost maximum of his heat vision against his, girlfriend. Okay, for starters, we know that Homelander can hold back his heat vision. He can slice through private jetliners like butter, but plastic milk bottles are the bane of his existence. Does this really look like he's trying as hard as he did when he fought Billy Butcher? In order to accept Homelander pushing himself to his max, you also have to ignore the plethora of anti-feats that concretely put Stormfront below the top tiers, such as Stormfront being damaged by Starlight and Kimiko, two characters who are nowhere near Homelander's max power. No matter how you look at it, Annie and Kimiko gave Stormfront a hard time, and with Maeve, dominated her. These are things that simply wouldn't happen at top tiers like Soldier Boy and Homelander, and in fact, we've seen this exact thing when Soldier Boy has to fight Butcher, Starlight, and Kimiko one after another. While Butcher can put up a fight, he essentially one-shot Starlight before beating Kimiko without even looking at her. A heavily amped Starlight only manages to briefly stagger Soldier Boy, whereas against Stormfront she'd likely be nerfed if anything, seeing as the battle occurred far away from most sources of electricity. There's also the fact that Starlight thought she and Maeve would need 5 other heroes just to stand a chance against Homelander, whereas 3 of them were more than enough to overwhelm Stormfront. There's a consistency of the top tiers being able to handle multiple opponents that would otherwise give Stormfront a hard time, or honestly just beat her outright. As well, Stormfront had been rendered a talking stump by Ryan's heat vision, whereas Soldier Boy took a blast from a more mature Ryan and basically shrugged it off. Attacks that instantly destroy Stormfront are seen as inconveniences for the top tiers. I believe that Stormfront tanking Homelander's heat vision was meant to portray that she is a greater threat than the other villains so far. Even though he's holding back, Homelander implies he's using enough power to split most heroes in 2, putting Stormfront's durability in an upper echelon than the likes of Noir, Deep, A-Train, and so on. The point being, she's tougher than everything we faced before. How will our heroes win? But it doesn't actually scale her to full power Homelander. Maeve, however, does scale to Homelander and Soldier Boy. While I would never claim she is on their level, she is capable of contending them, blocking their attacks, and tanking their attacks while continuing to fight. In fact, you know the feat everyone hypes up Stormfront for? Maeve actually gets hit by an enraged Homelander's heat vision, and not only does she block it, but takes it straight to the chest. Who do you think Homelander would be trying harder against here? The woman who worships him like a god, or the woman trying to destroy him and his reputation? Stormfront's plasma blasts wouldn't do much either, as they've only been seen to work on characters around the level of Kimiko and Starlight. They don't even really do that much damage, only stun and throw things around. They might act to slow Maeve down a little bit, but could never do anything definitive to finish her off. The only chance Stormfront would have is by abusing her ability to fly, and then using her plasma to throw Maeve around until eventually she tires out. Maeve is tough enough to take hits from Homelander, so this would certainly take a while, but it is possible. But let me ask you, has Stormfront ever done this? She didn't do it against Maeve the first time, and she has a track record of getting up close and personal to fight her opponents. She finds joy in doing things face to face. On top of that, it's possible she can't even use her plasma offensively when flying. Stormfront propels herself using her plasma. It's what allows her to fly. Would she be able to fly while also shocking and blasting Maeve around? We've never seen her do it, so it's questionable at best. I do think it's likely she can only use her plasma for one thing at a time, which is why even when she did fly away from Maeve, she didn't try blasting her. Even if you gave Stormfront this benefit and said she could just blast Maeve from the sky, Stormfront does need to be close enough to use her plasma. We have no reason to believe she can just aim from low Earth orbit or something dumb like that. One of Maeve's specific talents in the show is her ability to jump great distances, which many people comment on. She could probably just tackle Stormfront out of the sky while powering through her plasma, or she could simply incapacitate her from the ground. As Homelander said, she once threw a pen at a man from 26 yards away into his eye and through his brain. Stormfront's eyes were susceptible to Becca with a normal knife, let alone the superhuman, almost Homelander level Maeve. In conclusion, Maeve was already strong enough to outbox Stormfront when she was at rock bottom, then trained to a point where she could tussle with Homelander, a feat eclipsing anything Stormfront is capable of. A better matchup for Stormfront might be Sam from Gen V, or honestly even Jordan or Golden Boy. The Gen V top tiers all surpass Kimiko as seen with Sam, so they might actually be a good match for Stormfront. Meanwhile, Maeve would be trouble for the Gen V crew at the same time, and even without her full power. Queen Maeve remains as the strongest woman on the Seven.